Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, your host. This is the celebration of July 4th in America, and the makers of the film Infinite Possibilities sent out a welcoming for the July the 4th, and they suggested that we call this Independence Day Interdependence Day. They're celebrating 245 years as being self-determining here in the United States. And the adding of Interdependence Day is to recognize the global community that is within our borders. And I kind of like that. So welcome, everyone. But today's topic is on looking at perception and how there are fallacies in it, and there's also fidelity of what we perceive. Because perception, and we individually are the perceivers. And so if we get stuck on seeing everything with one perception, then it limits our growth and our maturity. So it's looking at the fact that perception is the way we see something, and it is based on all of our experiences to date. We collect those things. And then as we mesh them together and meld them together, we can begin to see different perspectives of different things. And so to us, our perception becomes our reality. I mean, that's the way I see it. Only it may not be real. We may have eluded ourselves or deluded ourselves. Remember, we've been talking about the bookends. And on one bookend, we have truth. And on the other bookend, we have illusion. And it's not necessarily a lie. You'd think the opposite of truth is a lie. Well, sometimes it's just not seeing the entire truth, not seeing the whole. And so it is looking at that what we perceive may not be genuine. It may not be the real thing. It may have some things to look at. So perception, and what is it? Perception is to perceive something or to become aware of it. And we become aware of it through our senses. Our senses identify something. We may smell an odor before we're even aware of it, but it helps us to become aware about what we're perceiving or what we are hearing. And then we remember it. Oh, I heard that noise before. It kind of takes you back with the favorite song. These systems in our brain and in our body was gifted to us at birth. And as we perceive something, what it is, it kind of turns the world upside down. We may be seeing it this way, but it kind of turns it up, as you can see here in the little graphic on the side, that the person is looking through that little prism one way, but it flips it upside down. And sometimes that's why we're seeing an illusion as opposed to the real item or the real thing. Perception then gives us the ability to opinionate. And again, that's up to us. And so whatever extreme we may take it to, the positive or the negative, we are able to voice what we are seeing or thinking. And then it also activates part of our opinionation as to whether it is moral or aesthetic, whether it is good for us, whether it is the right thing to do. And we know these things. Part of our internal perception is to know we all have this internal knowing of right from wrong, the positive and the negative. And then it also helps to aid in the abet the fact that we are a part of the pleasure-pain syndrome, in that what we are wanting in life is as much pleasure and happiness and good times and success as we can possibly obtain, while at the same time we're wanting to avoid, just turn away from all the pain and the failure and the things that would cause hurt. It's how we make our decisions. It's whether it's going to be pleasurable or whether we may say yes to it, or whether it's going to be painful, we may say no to it. And all of this works through our wonderful system, the brain, although we're finding that we have more than one brain, the brain in the head, the brain in the heart, the brain in the gut. But we'll talk right now about the brain. The brain is an organ. The brain assimilates information for process, storage, and recall. The two main functions of the brain is memory and creativity. And memory, of course, stores and recalls it. And then our creativity, which some people call the unconscious brain, it's always working. It's always, always working. And then perception and our behavior, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the physiology goes with us. Dr. William Glasser said that our perception system can only be satisfied our needs when we are seeing the pictures that are in our quality world. And we're very selective. And from the very beginning of life, we begin to look around at things that we want and things that we don't want. And those things that we do want, we stick them in a little storage space that Dr. Glasser, William Glasser, identified as a quality world, because someday we want to bring those things into reality, But there are some challenges to what we perceive. For one thing, that challenge triggers our fight or flight system, whether we're going to stay and participate or whether we're going to leave. And in that fight or flight, we begin imaging. We begin seeing pictures that would take us to safety or that would help us have the ability to relate to whatever it is we are perceiving and how maybe to handle it effectively. The challenge of perception is also that it informs us and it forms additional possibilities. It helps us to see things anew. And as we're willing to expand and grow, we look, is it something I can do, can't do? Is it something I know, I don't know? Something I didn't know anything about? Is it something I can do that I have done before that I've never tried? Is it a possibility? Is it maybe so, maybe no? It is that challenge of, instead of going into what, I've got this, I've been here before, and doing it in the same old way, we want to sit at the feet of our own life and begin to look at the changes that can come about and the challenges of our perspective or how we see something. It opens space for new information so that we can reframe it, so that we can release it, so that we can discard it, that maybe this way of handling something is no longer that effective. It also, as we've talked before, the body craves what it's continually fed. And so if we just keep going back in that rut, it may be ready, but maybe we need some new information to begin to look at things a little differently. And to live more from our imagination, which of course is right now, and the thinking of what the plans and the goals and what we will do and will become, more than memory, which is living in the past. And the past, it definitely affects who we are today, but it is the past. We want to live in the now. And then we want to always relate, remember that fight or flight, as to whether it's going to be safe and can I relate. And we want to learn to relate because we are on this universal ship and we're all together and we're all floating around. So our sensory perception can sometimes get stuck. And we, have this little ditty that we've heard before. Well, that kind of qualifies that I'm seeing it correctly. If it looks like a duck and it smells like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it waddles like a duck and it swims like a duck, then it must be what? A duck. But this is a platypus. And it sounds like a duck, and it waddles like a duck, and it swims like a duck, except it's a platypus. And sometimes our perception can be deceived, or we are deceived by what we perceive. So I have a quote here from Franklin D. Roosevelt, our former one-time president, and he said, "So, first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed effort to convert retreat into advance." In other words, rather than running away, how can we stay and handle it in a sane and sensible and effective manner. And someone came up with the acronym of FEAR, meaning a false evidence appearing real. And again, back to our bookends. That one bookend that psychologists tell us we only have two true emotions, and that everything else is an outcropping of those two true emotions. And one is love and one is fear. And all the stress and all the anxiety is an outcropping of fear. But as we can begin to look at who we are and what we can do and the possibilities and how others can help us, and we lean more toward love, we can overcome that fear and lead it to advance and lead it to advantage and lead it to the pleasure. So here, in looking at the fact that we're on this universal ship, wherever we are in this, not only on planet Earth, but in the universe itself, because we have astronauts that are out and about. Anyway, this poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox just fits so perfectly in with perception. One ship sails east, one ship sails west, regardless of how the wind blows. It is the set of the sail and not the gale that determines the way we go. Like the winds of the sea are the ways of fate as we voyage along through life. 'Tis the set of the soul that decides its goal and not the calm or the strife. You see, it's inside. It's our wisdom heart that listens to the brain, yes, but we also listen to the brain and the heart. And we begin to realize, can we have a little bit more compassion here? Can we have a little bit more bravery here? Can we have a little bit more truth here? And not allowing the external situations to be in controlling of who we really are or who we are becoming. So the creative mind, which some call the subconscious mind, and we'll put them on the same page, that we'll put the creative mind and the conscious mind and kind of work through how they could work together and befriend each other. So at age 4, we had some kind of trauma. And it could have been something like a snake or a spider that we were put down because we were scared of a snake or a spider. Or it could have been something really much, much more traumatic. Something like harm, physical harm, disregard, abuse. And that sets up within this 4-year-old, or whatever age, we could put 14 or 24. Anyway, it sets up that creative mind is looking at that there's something hiding in the darkness that's to be afraid of, that's fearful. And we're distrusting. No one came to our rescue, or we weren't adequately soothed. And later in life, we may look back and say, well, that wasn't that big a deal. But at age 4, or at that nascent age, it's our whole world. And we become blocked. We're being called on to participate in something that we don't have enough information for, that we haven't grown into. And we become emotionally stuck at level 3. But then we go over and we look at whether we're 24 or 44 or 94. I mean, it makes no difference. Time's passed. And we're still looking at our conscious mind, what we are recalling. And we remember the issue, but we're trying to say, well, it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, I survived. I'm still here. And we become kind of what my friend refers to as a wandering generality. We're just going here, going there, but we don't really know any specifics. And although we may be quite successful in a lot of areas, it's still like there's a lot of unprocessed issues. And our life is not all that fulfilling. Sometimes we can be throwing up full, but we're not fulfilled. And we have the intellectualness, have grown to and know about the things in the world and how to be more successful on a level 10, but we're stuck on the emotional level of about 3 because there was something there that kept us from moving forward. So how can we move forward? Goes a lot with perception. And in dealing with, in working with, in seminars and so forth, I invite people to bring, so they can actually look at their favorite picture as a child. Or maybe you don't have a favorite picture from when you were a child, or don't have any pictures of you as a child. Then look randomly and find a picture of something that just kind of tugs at your heart, that you have compassion for that child that maybe could remember the traumas of your life. And we're saying, physician, heal thyself. Come on, just get over it. Well, take that picture and begin to have some compassion for it, because the body is designed to heal itself. To heal itself. We have through the system that works. And Gene Suffix, a senior faculty with the Glasser Institute, wrote a wonderful article on U theory and the quantum physics, and she talked about all the insights of a lot of the great masters like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and Dr. William Glasser, and looked at the fact that all of these theories have a way to help us learn to heal ourselves. Not that we're not putting any disparity on, just to learn to heal ourselves. That as we have shut down emotionally, there's a reason for that. Sometimes we think, well, why can't I move past that? It was one way of restraining the anger, of really hurting someone else. It may be a way of seeking help, wanting someone to just ask us what's wrong and to kind of pull it out of us. Or it's maybe a way of avoiding a situation. If I know that and what it looks like, and I've got it perceived, and I can smell it, and I'll stay away from it. I won't go there anymore. But in healing ourselves, we need to realize that anytime we are uneasy in our own skin, that we're uneasy, and we begin to image these things, people being against us, or they're fighting against us, it really sets up dis-ease within us that becomes a literal disease. I mean, if your shoe is not working well, I mean, it's a little loose, it begins to rub, and it begins to form something that then sets up into trying to heal itself. So the purpose of having that picture of you, or a random child that, or maybe even an animal that is sick and hurting, and you are drawn, compassion is drawn to help that hurting. Develop compassion for you, to realize that, you know what, we all need more information at various times in our life, and we all need to develop more strength and more muscles. So have a little compassion for at the age and the stage that you didn't have it initially. And I'm not talking a pity party as such, I'm talking genuine compassion. And to lovingly acknowledge your worth and value, even though you may have made a blunder, or you may not have been able to correct that blunder, or to keep someone from hurting you, or to keep them. But that does not take away your worth and value as an individual that is growing. And begin to employ the sacred breath. Just take little reprieves through the day. 2 or 3 times a day, just begin to breathe in deep, going all the way down into the abdomen, all the way down into the stomach, and just bring that belly out big, and hold it for a minute, and then release it. Because our body has a wonderful system, and we breathe automatically. And it's life, divinity, whatever, saying to us, hey, you're to keep on breathing. Even though there may be times that we find ourselves holding our breath or hyperventilating, we can learn to have those sacred reprieves that teach us how to continually just keep on breathing. Just keep on breathing. Aware of it, consciously aware. And as we inhale, our body is so designed that as we inhale the oxygen, it gets into our lungs and blood system, and it circulates through, and we exhale carbon dioxide. And I like to take that and use it as the body's method of healing. And as we kind of set up our own exchange system, our own recycle system, that as we breathe in light, we breathe in yellow. And we see it transform, and we breathe out the carbon dioxide. We exhale the toxins. We let go of the stress. We let go of the drab-looking colors. We breathe in love, and you feel it. You can begin to feel it. And we release the anxiety. And you use that breath also as like that WD-40 that will unstick and cure anything, and release it. That you take it in and you breathe in and hold it for 2 or 3 seconds and send it to wherever that pain is. Send that breath in your mind. Send that breath to those aching shoulders that are so tight they're up to your earlobes. Send it to that pain in the back. Send it to that heart that's palpitating. Send it to that place that needs to be loosened up a little bit. And then relax into it. And then nature. Just go outside. Make a deliberate appointment with yourself to go outside 2 or 3 times a day just for a few minutes. Out and breathe in and allow nature to love you. Let your senses see the beauty of the world and see the flow of the trees and hear the birds, and let nature encourage you. And that kind of brings us back to celebrating July the 4th. And Catherine Lee Bates' song, America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesty above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy goods with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. And let that be crowning you as you go out into nature. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness and every gain divine. America, America, and all of us in America, God mend thy every flaw and confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. This is speaking to all of us. Think we can do it? I think we can. Blessings.